about, there we go. Okay, so I am a native Hoosier, born and raised right on the east side of Indy in the Irvington area. Been there my whole life. I'm currently in my last year of my bachelor's program at IUPUI. I'm working towards a degree in human resources management. I took about a 2.5-year hiatus. I did 4 years at IU Bloomington. Couldn't really decide what I wanted to do. So I took about a 2 or so year hiatus before I decided to go back to IUPUI and switch my major. So I'm just about finished with that now. I've always had an interest in fashion and clothing and things like that, but I wasn't always really to express it the way that I wanted to, because I felt like I never had pieces that worked, or I felt like I just didn't really know where to start with a lot of things. So that's kind of where I came up with this presentation for you guys today. Because of my interest in fashion, when I was 19, I took a job as a sales associate in a resale clothing store. 7 years later, I'm now working as the marketing director for that same company. We own the Once Upon a Child that's down in Greenwood, as well as the Once Upon a Child on 96 and Ditch, and the Once Upon a Child on 86 and Ditch, I should say, and the Once Upon a Child on 96th Street in Fishers, as well as the Plato's Closet that's in Fishers. So we own 4 stores total. I oversee the marketing for them, as well as social media, things like that, photography, videography, anything that we do for that. So I just wanted to give you guys some background about me. Of course, I have to plug my business just a little bit because I'm really proud of the work that we do. So just a little bit about Burtner Resale. We are a resale clothing business. The Plato's Closet deals with like teen and 20s wear, and the Once Upon a Child's deal with infant and child wear. They also resale infant and child like furniture and equipment, gear, things like that. We pay same day for items, so we're a little bit different than a consignment shop. Typically when I tell people what I do and tell them about the business, they're thinking consignment. The difference between us and consignment is made, it's mostly to make money. You come in and you bring your items in, and the owners of the store might decide to keep it from you, but you're not going to see any money back on that until that item sells, if it does. So what we do at my stores is we purchase same day. You bring in items to us, we decide right then and there that we want it in our store, and we give you that cash on the spot. So it's really good just to help, cycle people through the store. We have a lot of people who come into our stores because we do offer that resale clothing at such a significant discount from regular retailers that we have a lot of people that just sort of use us as a cycle. They come in and they sell their items to us, and then they use that money to just buy new things. And then that way they're always able to keep sort of up to date with their wardrobe, but they're not usually ever spending that much more money because they're just using that cycle to go through. So if you recognize the name Once Upon a Child or Plato's Closet, they are owned by the Winmark Corporation. So we're a franchised operation. Winmark owns things like Once Upon a Child, Plato's Closet, Play It Again Sports, Style Encore, Music Around. If you've ever heard or been to any of those stores, that's the Winmark Corporation that owns the name that Burtner Resale is under. I also just want to get to know you guys a little bit. If anybody has any questions at this point, or if anybody has anything that they're really looking to get out of this, let me know, because I want this presentation to work for you guys. So please let me know if you guys have any questions so far, or anything that you'd like to cover before we sort of get into this. Okay. So starting off, why shop resale? I am a shameless plug for resale, and I always will be. I didn't always shop resale, and I didn't always thrift. And the reason was I didn't really realize that it was such a significant option. I didn't realize that it was something that was so doable. I thought it was going to be so hard to find pieces that worked, whether it was clothing or shoes or, even furniture and things like that. Sometimes I thought it was going to be something that was really difficult to do and do well, but it's not. So on average, resale stores price their items at about 30 to 70% less than retail prices, which makes them much more affordable. The US alone produces more than 11 million tons of textiles textile waste every year. So that's a really big reason why, especially right now, resale stores are on the rise, because they're trying to combat that. That's part of what my company does. We're trying to be a little bit of green here in Indy, where there's not quite so much sometimes. And then, we just want to create more thoughtful consumption habits. How much am I spending? How much waste am I using? And especially when it comes to me and my thrifting, it's, am I spending money on something that's going to benefit me a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? Is this a piece that's going to stand the test of time, especially when it comes to fashion and when it comes to business wear and things like that? Is this something that I'm going to get my money's worth out of? And what I found when I wasn't thrifting and kind of shopping resale was that I really wasn't getting that worth out of it. So if we go into our next slide here. Okay, so thrifting your closet. So what that basically means is you're going to find key pieces and you're going to use them to staple your look. Okay, so staple your look. What does that mean? Basically, that means these are going to be your pieces that you build everything else around. Here's my one staple. You're going to kind of like staple it on the wall. Here it is. It's not moving. It's not going anywhere. What can I build around this to make it work for multiple situations, to kind of make it grow with me if it needs to, and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to staple those pieces, and then you're going to use alternating accessories and other pieces to kind of refresh those looks and things like that. So I just thought I would make a list for you guys, kind of what I would consider at least to be my list of essentials for when you're looking to put together a wardrobe, and when especially you're looking to put together a business appropriate wardrobe. A black pant, a basic black pant is obviously something that you are going to want hands down. You're going to want it in a straight leg, a baby flare, or a chino style. A white button up, you can't go wrong with that. I prefer a long sleeve. You can do some short sleeves with sweaters and things like that. Blazers, I think everybody should own at least one. That's my personal opinion. I like black, but grays and navies are also good colors to have because they match with a lot of things. And they're really good at dressing up something if you don't have the other items that are dressed up. So if you don't have the bottoms, if you don't have the undershirt that's as dressed up as you kind of want it to be or need it to be, adding a blazer to anything just instantly kind of ups that factor. Dark wash jeans. I know that some people can be a little bit torn on this, and that's totally fine. I have no problem personally with a nice dark wash jean being business appropriate. It's just going to depend on the workplace and things like that. But again, a nice dark wash jean free of distressing, a straight leg cut, or a slight flare, you can definitely dress those up. A kitten heel, which is considered anything with a 1 to 2 inch heel, definitely needed for a business wardrobe. And then, I would say anything, either a black flat, a black booty, or a black heel, because those are going to be your pieces that you can pair with anything, put with anything. You're not going to have to worry about if it matches, it's going to work perfectly. So what do I mean by those? If, I just want to make sure everybody is on the same page. So I do have some examples here of a nice straight leg pant, as well as a flare and a chino. Ideally, you want your chinos to hit kind of right where your ankle meets your shoe. You don't want it to be much higher than that. And you don't want it to be much lower than that, because then you can flood and things like that. And I really love these pictures of these blazers because both of these women aren't wearing things that are inherently like dressy. One, it looks like she's just wearing like a tank top t-shirt. And the other one, she just got on a little summer dress. But they add those blazers and instantly now they're ready to walk into a meeting. They're ready to walk into an interview. So having just a few key staple pieces in your closet is just going to enhance it so much. And I gave some examples of my favorite kitten heels. Down in the bottom, you'll see one that's a little bit on the taller side of kitten heel, and then down to the shorter ones, there's even one in a Mary Jane style and a bow. You can't go wrong with a nude. You can't go wrong with black. Those are going to be just across the board good for really anything. So I apologize for showing my face so much in the next few slides, but I just wanted to show you some examples of how I personally thrift my own closet, how I make lots of different things work for me specifically. So in this business casual sort of wardrobe, I worked with the same pair of pants. So what I wanted to show was you have one key piece being the cream pants, and I was able to make like 4 different looks, only really altering a couple of things. I have a white button down in one and a blazer, and then a t-shirt, just a plain gray t-shirt and a sweater in the other. And then in the first one there, I'm actually wearing this exact same black top. So with just a couple of alterations, you can really change what your wardrobe looks like, even though you're wearing the same pieces. And that's what I really like about, you know, thrifting these pieces, is depending on how you accessorize them, you've completely changed a look. Then you can go from morning to night, from casual to dress, you know, with just a couple of flips here and there. Again, here's a casual office one. So I wanted to show that even if you're in a pair of jeans, if you get, you know, a call for an interview on the fly and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything yet, you can dress up jeans until you have time to go and maybe get a dress pant, a slack, something like that. So here's a little bit more casual. You just throw on a blazer over a t-shirt, and it's instantly, it takes it from, oh, I'm running errands, to, okay, I'm ready to maybe walk into a business and talk and have a professional conversation with somebody. Also, you know, with throwing on a pair of heels, if that's all you have at your disposal as well, throw on a pair of heels with your jeans, and it instantly just bumps it up like that. All right. I just wanted to add this slide. I know that there's probably lots of different views out there on what is workplace appropriate. And I probably have different views than some of you, and some of you have different views than me, and that's totally fine. I just wanted to show that no matter what your business's attire, whatever your dress codes might be, there's ways to make it work for you, and you can find pieces that will fit in with whatever your business's dress code is, and you can still thrift those pieces, work those pieces, and staple those pieces. Next up, okay, so this one is kind of mostly about accessories. So I wanted to show kind of the transition from going in from a morning look into an evening look, and even like kind of like a night out look. Because, you know, depending on what business you get into, all that good stuff, you might have, you know, a morning meeting, a coffee date, something like that. You might even need to go to dinner at some points. And if you have these staple pieces, just changing your accessories, you can completely change the vibe of your outfit, which is really cool. So if you see here in our first picture here, we have some red heels with some red jewelry. This would be a really cool look if you had sort of like a night out dinner that you needed to go to. If you were meeting anybody anywhere for, you know, dinner, drinks, that sort of thing. You can kind of dress up this look a little bit, as opposed to the previous look. This one's definitely more of like a daytime, I'm in the office look. It's got the kitten heels, it's got the toned down colors, and it works definitely for that. And then the bottom two are just a couple more options, just depending on your personal style. I am a huge advocate for not letting business attire rules affect your personal style. And I know everybody has different places that they draw that line, where is appropriate versus where is not. And some people might be willing to give more in certain areas. Some people might say, you know what, I'm not going to push this at all. And some people might be, okay, I'm going to follow these dress codes, but my jewelry, my shoes, my makeup, that's how I'm going to accessorize, and that's how I'm going to get my personal style to fit in with the business style. And that's something that I really like to do. So I just included a couple of other shoes and stuff that I might wear with this outfit. Okay, and getting in here, I just wanted to show you my final cost. So in total in this presentation, there are 13 different outfits. And these are all outfits that I made with key staple pieces that I use all of the time. I use during the summer, I use during the fall and the winter, and I use them for casual looks, business looks, all in the same. There's 13 looks here, and the total cost me $102. So I broke that down to, if you wanted to do it kind of cost per day, it cost me about $7.80 a day over 13 days to make my money back basically in these looks. So if anybody has any questions, anything that they would like to go over, anything like that, that's about all I have for you. I just, if anybody has any questions, anything like that, I'd love to chat with you guys.
Of course I have questions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just finishing dinner. Can you guys see me?
I was gonna say, I'm
Oh,
trying to find
full background.
screen for
So,
you guys. So we can
what
all
is
face to face.
what is it called when you have the staple wardrobe? Isn't there a certain terminology for using core pieces and mix and matching?
I've always just called it like the staples. So, you know, I know we hear this all the time, you know, the little black dress, everybody needs to have that. Everybody needs to have this. That's what I've always called it, is stapling your wardrobe. Find those pieces that you know you can hang on to, and you know you're going to be able to make work for just about anything, depending on what you put around it. That way, you know, you're going to get your money's worth out of them, especially if you're doing something like thrifting beforehand.
And so then my second question is, where's your flats, babe? I have not worn heels since my second pregnancy. I don't care how small they are. I hate wearing heels.
I own a lot of flat boots. They're packed away right now because they're with my fall stuff, and I
Would
didn't
you
have
think
it.
that's professional? Like, I wear a lot of ballet flats. I go
Yeah.
get them from Walmart, you know, multiple pairs for $5.99, $9.99.
Yeah.
So
So with
are my
flats, what you want to look for and make sure of is that you do have, even if it's just so slight, you want to have that little bit of a heel with your flats. Round toe, pointed toe. There's not, my personal preference is a pointed toe, but I think both are perfectly professional, especially when you pair them with the right dress or the right pants. I think flats are absolutely acceptable and perfectly professional.
Okay. Well, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
I have a question. As far as blue jeans is concerned, I know the environment has to be like a interview for a professional setting. Is blue jeans in that blazer and those accessories, can that bring that will that bring you down in that particular setting, being in that arena, if that's how you have?
It's definitely going to depend on the specific environment. If that's something that you're worried about, you know, we've had people call before interviews with us and just ask about dress code and things like that. So that's something that, you know, employers are always going to be willing to discuss with people beforehand. I personally, if it's just an interview look, I think that a dark wash jean, again, you're going to want to go, if you are doing a jean, you're going to want to go with something that's a straight leg. Or a slight flare. You don't usually want to go with a skinny jean. You don't want to go with something that's a huge flare.
Absolutely.
But a nice straight leg or a slight flare, as long as it's that dark wash, it's definitely going to add some class. And like I said, pairing it with a blazer, pairing it with accessories, the right shoes, I think jeans definitely can be business appropriate for a lot of situations.
And thank you for expanding on that, because I never really thought about calling the employer beforehand, and I never really knew that. So I'm thankful for what you just said, because now I can call them and ask them, you know, before the interview and ask what's appropriate.
We get people who call and ask us questions about basically everything before interviews. And all that shows me is that you're wanting to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
So I always appreciate. Yeah. Anybody else?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm Kimball Richardson, everybody. I'm Zoe's dad. And I wanted to watch tonight. I hope you don't mind that I logged in. I think her mom logged in too. We're so super proud of her. But I wanted to make a comment, Linda, to what you said. Because in many times over my career, I happen to work in healthcare, but whenever I had an interview, I would call and try to find out, what is the person who's interviewing me going to be wearing?
Really?
And especially if it was a man, I would literally try to find out, what does this guy like to wear? So that I could, you know, dress appropriately. I wouldn't go too much over the top, but I wouldn't go too under. If I thought he was wearing a blue blazer, he liked to wear bow ties or neckties, I would try to match it.
That sounds good.
That's different. I haven't known that, but There's nothing wrong with stalking their link book or social media pages and see what you typically would wear. I definitely love a dark denim jean with a blouse and some nice pearls or something, but it depends on your environment. I would
Absolutely.
say in like corporate America, you shouldn't wear that unless they have, casual Friday.
And
But
quite and quiet as it's kept, I've been stalking Instagram quietly doing that.
I just realized the word I was looking for. It's called a capsule wardrobe. If you guys Google like capsule wardrobes, it'll give you like a lot of great ideas of how to stretch and make more looks out of your few pieces, your staple pieces, like the presenter shared.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's, I've kind of been doing that. I noticed when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of those staple pieces. So I would kind of want a specific look for something, whether it was for a job interview, whether it was for a class presentation or something like that. And I noticed that I didn't have the looks that I wanted. And it's because I didn't have those staple pieces. So once I went out and first off figured out what I wanted personally for mine, because just, the ones that I showed you guys tonight, those don't have to be the ones that you pick. Those don't have to be what you view as your staple items. Those are what I picked for me, because they're the ones that I figured would work the most going into all the different facets of my style. Zoe at work, Zoe, business casuals, Zoe just going to lunch, Zoe doing this, all that kind of stuff.
And I would say, if you find a piece you love, buy multiples of it or multiples in the same color or, different colors. I have a thing about like the perfect button-up white blouse. It has to be the perfect, carefree, easy maintenance, don't get too wrinkly. And I'll find one, I'll love it. It'll reach the end of its life, and then I'm searching multiple stores to find a replacement. So next time I find a white blouse that I love, I'm buying 5 of them.
Yeah, that's a good point too, especially, with thrifting, that's a little bit harder, but definitely if you're ever at a store and you find something that you like and they have multiple, I've done that many a time because I'm like, I'm definitely going to want this beyond what my washing machine will allow me to keep this for.
And I love Play-Dohs. That was a great way to help keep me afloat in college. I would either just sell my stuff to help pay for my books that year, or I would just sell it so I have something to look cute for a little 5. Also, you alone.
All right, hey. Go get red. Oh yeah, no, I mean, so Plato's Closet has definitely, now that I found that, it's where I buy most everything, that in our Style Encore store. As I got older and I'm now looking for more business appropriate clothes, because I can find some at Plato's, but usually if I'm looking for business wardrobe, I'll go to the sister store, which is Style Encore, and they have a lot of those business casual pieces, a lot of those staple pieces, the kitten heels, the blazers, just a nice pair of chino pants. If you're looking for something like that, that's the place to go for sure, because you can find a blazer for $12 and you can't beat that.
Yeah. I had problems with Once Upon a Child. And I don't know if it's like seasonal or how their process is, but I will always try to do the same thing I did in college with my first baby and switch out his clothes. And I'm talking about nice, like pristine condition, a Nietzsche academics, and they're like, nope, we don't take that. We don't take that. I'm like, why? Like, do you just want Gap stuff? Like, I don't know, Target stuff? Because this is high end, very expensive.
Yeah.
But I could never figure out the Once Upon a Child deal.
Yeah. So Once Upon a Child, it's a little bit different than the other stores in that Winmark chain that I was talking about, just because it's the only one that buys like what we would call like the big ticket items. It buys equipment, gear, Play It Again Sports buys like the sporting equipment. But Once Upon a Child, they're buying cribs, they're buying
plays,
all that kind of stuff that's a little bit more expensive. So they can't take quite as many risks when it comes to clothes. And just depending on area and things like that, they can be pretty, some of them are very, very particular and very specific, I know. They can be with that stuff because they've got to be able to still be able to afford those big ticket items that they're going to purchase from people and things like that. Whereas at Plato's, they're like, all we're really doing is working with clothes.
Gotcha.
So anything that's cute, we're like, heck yeah, bring it
That
in.
makes sense. That actually makes tons of sense.
Yeah,
But,
they don't have
16
near as
years
much
too
wiggle
late.
room.
He's
Yeah.
about to go to college now. 16 years too late.
Oh.
We've come a
Well, now
long
you'll know
way.
television. All right. Anybody else? I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and letting me do my little spiel for you guys.
We have a couple.
I hope it was helpful. I hope it was something that was, you know, informative for you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah,
How
we have a,
can affect how do you dress? I mean, if you dress up too much or not appropriate according to the age that you have. I saw the dress that you show and they are wonderful, but you know, I don't think they are the right piece for me if I have an interview. So I'm thinking I need to dress up according my age, my style, my shape. So usually I go for classic style, a scarf or a pants, a skirt. So I don't care too much how is the fashion in this moment, but I prefer to feel elegant, something like that. So in US, I'm coming from Europe, so it's a different culture. In US, is it so important to dress up, or maybe it's better to have an interview, dress well, but not to dress up? I don't know if you understand my question.
Yeah. So, you know, when I see people come into an interview, if I can tell that they've put effort into themselves and into their outfit, that to me means everything, because it means to me, okay, they took the time out of their day to make themselves presentable because they're wanting to put their best foot forward, their best face forward, all of that stuff. There might be a little bit of a cultural divide between US and other places, but typically, you know, I think most businesses, they're going to appreciate you dressing business appropriate. And if that means your style is a little bit more like wearing a scarf, wearing a nice skirt set, you know, anything like that, I think they're going to appreciate that. In a lot of US culture, you know, a nice skirt set, a scarf, you know, a sweater set, a suit set, that's definitely business appropriate for sure. The outfits that I showed in my slide were just sort of me showing, here's one of my staple pieces and how I work it. And then here's another one and how I work it. But your staple pieces can be anything. They can be anything that make you feel like you've got the best control of your total wardrobe. So if it is, you know, a skirt set, or if it is, you know, a vest, or a you know, even up to a 3-piece suit set, you know, if that's what your staple item makes you feel like you've got the most control over the rest of your wardrobe, then that's totally fine.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Nadia, it's Nadia, right?
Yes.
Yes. I say, so my style is quite elegant. It's like Jackie Onassis, if you know who she is. I definitely pretty much always wear a full suit to work. Slacks, a beautiful blouse, and a blazer. I've had coworkers come into the door, like criticize me, like, why do you dress up? And I'm like, I don't dress up. I feel comfortable like this. My parents dressed me in like suits since I was 7. That's my first memory. I always say dress for the position that you want, not the position you have. And what I found is every time I come in the door, the upper management takes notice to me, and I always get promoted very rapidly. I never stay in the same position that I came in the door 6 months into my job.
So you think the dress affecting your position, maybe they hire you because they see you. So dress is so important as a rule.
They see you as an equal to management, not necessarily to the entry level person. I say, do what makes you feel comfortable, dress for the position that you want, and don't let anybody dim your light. You be you. And whatever you are is the value that you give to the rest of the world. And don't let anyone take that from you or make you feel like you have to dim yourself. Shine, baby. Just shine.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, shine on.
Zoe, do you think that there are kind of along the lines of what Nadia was saying and Lynette, are there some things that are not appropriate for ladies to wear?
Cleavage.
Yeah. So
Stuff.
basically, my rule of thumb is, you want to cover like your bases. Basically, you want to cover the bases. My rule for dresses is normally you don't want to do anything that's really much above knee length. Same with pants. You don't want to come in a pair of capris. There's a difference between a nice pair of chinos where it's hitting kind of an ankle and you're just walking in like your summer capris. It's really going to be all about where you're working at though, because while there's things that I don't find appropriate for my business or others might not find appropriate for theirs, no matter where you go, things are going to be different. But I think it's definitely safe to say, you don't want to be showing up somewhere where you're always worrying about pulling your shirt down when you raise your arms up because it's not long enough to cover everything when you raise your arm. Same with when you go to bend over and you have to worry about doing this and all that kind of stuff. Again, though, I don't want to take away from anybody's personal style preferences or anything like that. Because if that's where you draw your line and that's what you want to wear, then absolutely you have every right to do that. And if you want to find a place that accepts you dressing that way, then that's also totally awesome.
Hey, Zoe, we had a couple of questions through chat.
Yeah.
One of them said, is it okay to wear flare pants if you are short?
So you do want to be kind of careful with flare pants. A slight flare is totally fine. When you get into kind of busy bell bottom styles, especially when you are, this is from me, I'm 5'2". So especially when you're someone who's shorter and you get into those wider leg pants, what can happen is it can be really busy and it can start to look kind of costumey. That's why when you're sticking to those, if we're just going off of base business casual American workplace, you're going to want to stick to straight legs and kind of slight flares. A good way to check, because sometimes when you're buying pants, you can't tell. If it's a super slight flare or anything like that, you pull it up and you're like, well, I can't tell what kind of leg this is. If you lay those pants flat, fold the ankle up to the knee. If the ankle and the knee are the same width, then you've got an awesome straight leg pair of pants. If the ankle is smaller, you might be fringing into skinny jean territory. And then if that ankle is wider than the knee, you've got a flare. So just kind of gauge on that. I think a slight flare is really appropriate. I think they're totally fine. Once you start getting into like boot cut and on territory, I think it can get a little busy for business.
Perfect. And then the other thing that person mentioned, she wrote down color palettes. Do you want to talk about those? Do you want to, I don't know.
Palettes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, at least, when I'm working with, kind of business casual attire, I'm sticking to black, white, gray, cream, and sometimes navy blue. Those are the colors that I like to start my base out with, because I know then kind of no matter what I bring in around that color, then it's going to work. I know that a lot of times people feel like navy blue is not included in that, but there's actually a lot that you can pair with navy. It doesn't necessarily just have to be black or white to match anything. Any of those kind of darker tones, they can match a lot. So I like to start all of my looks kind of from a neutral base palette, because then, like I'm sure you guys saw in one of those, I have a lot of pink accessories and all of my pink fits in, or I have red accessories and all that red fits in. Or do kind of a rainbow look. I feel like when you start with a neutral base, you're in a really good spot to make everything else work.
I do not care for neutral, like khaki or navy. I can tell you why. Because anytime I go to a store on my lunch break, every single time someone comes up to me and asks me where something is,
They think you work there.
I'm like, do I have on a red shirt? I'm in Target. Like, I have on a
Right.
beautiful blouse. Like, khaki. I do
They
not
see your
know.
blazer and they think she must be the manager here. She knows what's going on.
Maybe. But it depends on how I feel. Sometimes I'll be like, I'll help them and I'm walking around and then they'll say, thank you. And then they'll see me grab my cart like, what? It just depends on how much time I have.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some people might feel that way. I know a lot of people who work with different color palettes just based on skin tone. You know, if you're a little bit fairer and you want to work with warm color tones, if you have a little bit more red undertones and you want to work with those cool tones. I mean, honestly, there is something to say with wanting to be business appropriate and wanting to wear what is going to aesthetically look best on you. But there's also a lot to say with wearing what you are going to feel most comfortable in and what you are going to feel your best in and look your best in, because there's also a lot to say for that affecting performance. When you feel your best and look your best, you're going to work your best.
Yep. Feel confident.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anybody else have any other questions for Zoe? Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or? My 7-month-old obviously has questions in the background, as you can hear him squealing. Cool. Well, I will, I'll get this to our marketing director to get on our YouTube channel, and I'll send you guys a link to that. I'll send everything in the email that you guys use to register for tonight's workshop. I'll also send a link to the upcoming workshops in October. Hopefully we can do this again with Zoe, maybe in a few more months, and kind of, you know, fashions change. We're going into fall and winter now. Maybe we'll do it again in the springtime and see what that looks like.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. If anybody's interested, let me know for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Kimball, we'd love to have you again. I know that your topic was a hot topic as well. Cool. All right.
Well,
Well,
talk about fashion too, though. So that's my problem.
I know you
Just
do.
management, fashion, whatever.
Right. They all go together. Cool. Well, I'll let you guys have this extra, 18 minutes back of your evening that you probably weren't expecting to have. And thank you guys for getting on, and I'll send this stuff out to you tomorrow. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Kimball.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice meeting you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks.